Good evening, dear friends. Once again, welcome to our interreligious reflection on the topic, what resources does my religion have to foster peace at the individual and community levels, especially in the face of a culture of hate? This evening, we are privileged to listen to the Jewish perspective on this topic. We have Rabbi Joshua Kolet, a Jewish educator from the Indian Jewish community known as the Bene Israel. He grew up in India and completed his graduation with a BSc in botany from the University of Mumbai. He then had the rare opportunity to study at the Sehebar Sephardic Center in the old city of Jerusalem, from where he received an ordination to serve as a rabbi. Rabbi Kolet served as a rabbi in India from 2000 to 2008, and then he migrated to Israel. We are especially privileged to have him speaking to us today from Israel because of his great love for our country and for all of us, and his concern and his love for Pune, because his grandparents were in Pune. So he has roots in Pune too, not just in Bombay. Presently, he serves as a link with the Chief Rabbinate of Israel for serving the Indian Jewish community worldwide. Though he is now based in Israel, he continues to maintain a strong relationship with his community in India with regular online classes and visits. Welcome, Rabbi Joshua Kolet, to our program, and please take over and enlighten us on this topic.
Thank you very much for the kind words and all that praise, Dr. De Cruz, Father De Cruz. I am so honored to be here. It is really an amazing opportunity to reach out to all my Indian brethren and share a few words of Torah, the Old Testament, and shed some light on how the Jewish people look at world peace and the whole idea of how peace can be achieved at personal levels and community levels. Before I even begin, I would like to thank Sneha Sadan for this amazing endeavor, and Vincent College for taking up this very important task of bringing all different religion or religious thoughts and religious perspectives together so we can learn from each other and we can grow. Thank you very much. Very commendable endeavor, I have to say, and we should continue doing these things. I myself was brought into the fray by Mr. Why am I forgetting his name? Leora and Micha Zozef. Micha has been a very old friend. His wife, in fact, has been my very good friend from my teenage years. And Leora just lost her mom. So I would like to dedicate our class today to her, this fine woman who has been a pillar of our community and very strong woman. Her name is Naomi Joshua Ezekiel. Family is Turkar. And may her soul rest in peace, and may our study of Torah help in the ascent of her soul. So I would like to dedicate this class to Naomi Auntie, with your permission. If we have to begin, then what I would do is, first of all, I would like to, I have seen a few of your classes and they're quite a bit formal. My style is not formal, you see. I tend to not have these formal teachings because when I was a student, whenever there was a formal class, I fell asleep. Whenever there was something informal and light, then I was very curious and up there. So I think that's something that remains from my childhood, that I need something informal, so I don't make notes and stuff like that, which sometimes is to the detriment of the class, and it takes away from it. But without further ado, I would like to start. Now my son told me over here I will be able to take care of this. So let's see. Yes, I was successful. Good. Great. So the beginning 2 minutes, we will look at some ideas here. This is what we need. So let's talk about peace in terms of the Jewish perspective. The very famous prophecy from Isaiah, right? Let's look at it for a second to see what has been envisioned by the prophets of Israel as to world peace. Thus, he, which is God, will judge among the nations and arbitrate for the many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. They shall never again know war. Wow. That is what we are heading to. That is what we call a messianic, a time of the Messiah prophecy, when there won't be any war. They won't even have weapons. The weapons all will be channelized towards agriculture, right? And that is what we all, humanity together, are supposed to achieve at a point in history. Isaiah then again in chapter number 11, he mentions, the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, the leopard lie down with the kid. Kid, that's small of a sheep, right? The calf, the beast of prey, and the fatling together with a little boy to herd them, right? The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together. And the lion, like the ox, shall eat straw. A babe shall play over a viper's hole, and an infant pass his hand over adder's den. So there aren't poisonous snakes. There won't be venomous animals. There won't be ferocious lions and tigers. Everything will be at peace with each other. Now, there is a lot of discussion among our Jewish sages of old. Is this prophecy really going to come to happen as it is? Because a lot of prophecies are metaphors, you see. So, because if this prophecy, if we say happens per se, what it means is we will have lions changing their nature, bears changing their nature, snakes changing their nature. And what will they eat if they if they become friends with their food? What will they eat, right? So there are some sages who think that maybe this is just metaphoric. I mean, the lion really is talking about those nations which are cruel, those nations that are very animalistic, those people who are very, very violent. And that is where the change is going to happen, whatever it may be. But again, a prophecy which gives us something to look forward to in terms of our history, human history. This is not only Israel, this is world history, guys. So that is what I begin with. Now, the Torah, the Old Testament, is studied in our seminaries called Midrashim, and then the rabbis, these are rabbis of old who are like basically the pillars of what Judaism is today. So what had they to say about it, right? These prophecies from the Old Testament. So one of the ideas, this is from the book which discusses all these ideas, is called the Talmud. And the Talmud has many sections, tractates, and the tractate Berachot talks about this idea. Torah scholars, those who study Torah, right? Increase peace in the world, as it is said, and all your children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of your children. So the word for children they are using is banai from Ben. Okay. Also, all your children shall be taught of the Lord, that they will know about Lord, and great shall be the peace of your children, because they are all learning. They are taught of the Lord, so they are all scholars, and hence from here they learn that scholars will bring peace to the world. They increase peace in the world. I'll give you an example. The Talmud discusses a lot of ideas, right? And what we sometimes in psychology classes and when we are studying stuff, we talk about, look at people over here so I can be more interactive. Otherwise, I can fall myself to sleep. So when we are discussing ideas, there is an idea called moral dilemmas, right? So there is one such moral dilemma that the Talmud itself discusses. And this moral dilemma is, what happens when you have a canister of water and you have a friend with you, or a stranger with you rather, and you are on your way, and you know that you need another day's journey, but you have water only for a few hours that will remain. So both of you all are thirsty, and he doesn't have water, neither do you have water. What do? Do you share your canister with him? Because in the event that you decide to be outgoing and loving towards the stranger, what happens if you share the canister? Both of you all end up dead, right? You all won't be able to reach the destination, neither one. So what is the decision taken? In this moral dilemma, the decision is, you cannot share your canister. It was yours. You took care of yourself. Your first priority comes to yourself, right? That is a decision. We call it halakha. So if I am in a situation, a similar situation, I have to fend for myself. That is how the law teaches me. But then there is another take on that. What happens if that person who is traveling is a Talmid Chacham? He is a scholar of Torah. He is a student of the rabbis. He is a devout Jew who is observant and studies the scriptures, right? How does he act? And suddenly they say, in this moral dilemma, even if he knows that he may die, this gentleman, who is a Talmud scholar, a Torah scholar, has to share his water for the sake of peace. He cannot show that I am special, I am better than you. My blood is bluer than yours or redder than yours, right? He has to share, even in the event that eventually both of them will pass away, probably, right? He shares his water. Why? Because a Torah scholar, he increases peace in the world. So the peace, even at the cost of death, takes over in his relationship and his actions and in his that is how the law of Torah decided. Okay. Next one, Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot is another what we call Mishnayot. I'm not going to go into all this, but these are the oral traditions of the Jewish people. Especially this tradition is for the judges. The judges who used to judge the people had a special category, right? They were expected to be more pious, expected to be more to the dot, and the expectation from the leadership is obviously more high. And Pirkei Avot is the sayings of the fathers, was something meant for them to study. It is meant for all Jews to study, but they were supposed to really, it was an introduction to their career, really. That is how it was. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Rabban is another word for a rabbi, but a huge rabbi. right? He's a very big rabbi. So it's called a Rabban. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel used to say, on three things does the world stand. The world stands on three things: on justice, on truth, and on peace. Okay. Peace, truth, justice. Where does he learn it from? He learns it from Zechariah 8:16, because in Zechariah 8:16, there is the prophecy which says, as it is said, execute the judgment of truth. When you are a judge, you should sit and execute a judgment of truth and peace in your gates. So we know that judgment is always truth. So what is the judgment of truth and peace? That is what Zechariah says. So probably there is truth and compassion involved. When it comes to peace, then you have to also take into consideration other factors, not only the truth, right? And that's why truth is known as the seal of Hashem. Hashem is a connotation for God when we are using the specific name for God. We don't use the name, we call it the name. Hashem is the Hebrew word for the name. So when we are talking about God's seal, we say truth is God's seal. So whenever I am studying science and I come across a truth, I know this is the seal of it, the gravitational force. This is a seal of God. All kinds of truths, whatever we pursue, truthfulness, we are pursuing the seal of God. And peace is his name. Peace is his name. What is different in the seal and the name? The seal is separate from the owner, right? It represents the owner. It symbolizes the owner, but it is still separate from the owner. But peace is his name. Shalom, shalom. Peace, the one who owns peace, the one who has peace. That is what God is. God is the owner of peace. And that's why it defines him. Something that defines me becomes my name. That's why peace becomes God's name. So peace is equivalent to God's name. It is his essence, right? That's why when you are sitting in the gates and doing justice, Zechariah says that you have to have truth, because it's the seal of God, but you should also pursue peace, which is a higher reality, which is God's own essence. Okay? These are ideas that tell us where peace, what mantle and what position peace has in Judaism. In fact, we have prayers, some very, very important prayers. There is a prayer called the Shmona Esrei. It is the prayer. And 18 prayers, one after the other, which we pray 3 times a day. End of the prayer goes with Oseh Shalom Bimromav, the one who makes peace up above in the higher spheres, who Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, he shall make peace with us, amongst us, Ve'al kol amo Israel, and along with the people of Israel, Ve'imru Amen, and please say Amen, right? So that is a beracha. If you are saying a benediction after eating of a meal, which is it says, you shall eat, you shall satiate yourself, and you shall bless me. What do you mean by bless God? Thank God. Okay, there are 3 ways that blessing, the word blessing is used in. I may be using these words, so I'm just clarifying these ideas. That when I bless my son, for example, so what I am doing is I am asking God to give him grace, right? That is one kind of blessing. The other kind of blessing is when God blesses me. When God blesses me, he is bestowing grace on me, right? And when the people bless God, when I am blessing God, I am thanking God, but understanding that he is the source of all blessings, right? So that is how, so here what I was saying was, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, hu berahamav Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Israel ve'imru Amen. That the maker of peace up above in the higher realms shall make peace amongst us, and you shall say Amen. And all of Israel, and you shall say Amen. Now this, again, I was talking about the benediction after the blessings after a meal. So we are really thanking God after the meal. The end of this benediction comes with a Ose Shalom Bimroma. We have something which we say after every prayer, sort of sealing the prayer and saying that this prayer, please receive it from us in positivity, and respond positively. So every prayer, what we say is a Kaddish. A Kaddish is from the word Kadosh, holy. So sanctification of, we sanctify the prayer by saying that may God respond, and may his peace come on us. That Kaddish also has this same prayer, Ose Shalom Bimroma. There is, I mean, probably you may have heard, it was a popular tune once upon a time. Ose Shalom Bimroma, Huya se Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Israel, Ve'imru Imru Amen. Maybe you all have heard this, right? So this, again and again, there are 7, I'm not going to do all of them, 7 different times that we use this particular, we could say it is a mantra. We invoke this particular blessing after every important aspect that we finish. So that is where the pedestal of peace in Judaism. Okay, once we understand this, I am now going to take a side which is a little grayer. I'm going to become the devil's advocate. Okay, let's look at this. This will come back to later. In Genesis, there is a famous story where Jacob, he supplants, he cheats his brother Esau and goes and takes his blessing, right? His father Isaac is giving Jacob a blessing, thinking that they're giving Esau a blessing, Jacob a blessing, thinking he is Esau. Okay, what is the blessing? Now we have to know the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They were all prophets, right? So we just began our talk by saying the prophets of Israel say that there will be peace in the world, and we should not have arms, and we should not have weapons, right? If that is what is the thinking of prophets, what is the thinking of the prophet over here? Because Isaac is a prophet and he is going to bless his son. So let's find out. May God give you of the dew of the heaven, and the fat of the earth, abundance of the new grain and wine. Let peoples serve you, and nations bow to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's son bow to you. Cursed be those that curse you, blessed be those that bless you. So you suddenly see, in Isaac's mind, his son has to get a blessing where he lords over others, even his brothers, right? He is giving him a blessing, empowering him with power, isn't it? Power in terms of others will serve you and bow down to you. This is very, very serious military power even. Let people serve you. This is military power, right? Then there is another story, similar story, where Isaac, when his wife was brought from Haran, to brother blesses her. Her name was Rivka, and the blessing she gets is, and they blessed Rivka and said to her, "Oh sister, may you grow into thousands of myriads. May your descendants seize the gate of their foes." Okay, these are blessings that you should have power. You should have you lord over. You are a king, and you are making kingdoms, right? So Torah is on one hand talking peace, but on one hand, if I want to seize the gates of the foes, it doesn't happen like because I send a letter, right? How does it happen? It happens because I make war, correct? How do nations go to me? They're bowing down because they're frightened of me, because I have the ability to destroy them, right? So the same Torah, which talks about, on one hand, peace at the highest levels, where who can even imagine that the lion can lose his ferociousness, right? That is the level they go to when they are imagining peace. But when it comes to blessing their children, they are blessing them with a lot of power, right?
Yes.
Military power. So how do we understand this? We need to, Noreen, you have to mute yourself. I think you're.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the way we can take this further is, I would like to share with you. Let me see if I can share with you. Share the screen. That's okay. I won't be able to do that. But Numbers 6:23 to 27. This is a famous blessings that the priest had to bless. That was in the old times when Moses brought this blessing in the scriptures. He gave it to his brother Aaron, right? Aaron. And Aaron was instructed that you cannot bless people just what comes to your head. You have to bless them in a certain formula. And this is that formula. Speak to Aaron and his son, Aaron and his son, thus shall you bless the people of Israel. Say to them, God bless you and protect you. God deal kindly and graciously with you, and God bestow favor upon you and grant you peace. And our tradition says that there are 3 levels. The first are 3 words, then you have 5 words, then you have 7 words. There is a certain reason that it is the way it is. Not going into the details of that, but bless you and protect you is on the physical level. Be gracious to you, and the blessings of grace is on a spiritual plane. And finally, bestow divine favor upon you, look upon you. That is the words used over there. And like raise up his face and look at you and grant you peace is a balance of these two blessings. Okay. Now, this is in the Torah. Recently, there was a dig in Jerusalem, and they found an amulet, a silver amulet, which has the same blessing in it. 2,600 years old, if I am correct. 2,600 or 2,800. I'll go with a lower figure. 2,600-year-old amulet in silver that was using this same benediction, same formula. 2,600 years ago in Israel, in Jerusalem, people were putting on their hands, right? So there you know how old this particular formula is. We say it every morning. In the prayers, we have a communal prayer with a minimum of 10 people. That's when the Kohen goes up on a dais and blesses us. When we are saying the 18 blessings, right? One of the blessings is about peace. And just before that blessing of peace, we have the Kohen, the priest, who goes up on the dais and gives us this blessing. Same formula, 2,600-year-olds, continuous, happening still till today in the people of Israel. The idea in this blessing is there are blessings which are physical, there are blessings which are spiritual, and then there is a sort of a balance and mixture of these two kinds of blessings that bring us peace. Now from here, I am going to take a little bit of a, let's say, interpretive thought. Yeah. When we are dealing with any kind of violence, right, which is putting peace in a difficult position. It may be domestic, it may be communal, it may be international, right? Whenever we are faced with that, right, what we tend to do is we always tend to say that, oh, we have a problem over here. XYZ is violent. He's a dictator. He's a tyrant. And over the years, this was the norm. Fortunately, today we are, and this is proof that we are already moving towards the messianic times, because who wants war today? I mean, everybody knows that war is destructive. Although at this time when we are even speaking, there is a war happening in the world, which is very rare. But otherwise, we all have understood that war is not something, because once upon a time, every mother used to instill in their child that you become a soldier, you have to be patriotic, you have to give yourself up for the army is one very important principle. They were trained to be violent, and that was the reality. Everybody, not only that was the reality because they were trained like that, they loved it. I mean, it was something of a, you speak about Shivaji's time, to go to war was something which was very important. Even today, when we have the army taking care of our borders, our thinking is the army is trained to know, and there are so many movies which will instill that emotion in you, that this is a very important thing, that we are protecting you, and that's why we can kill others, right? But in the main population, that ideology about war, we don't want war. We have become more pacifists, right? We have already moved from that first blessing in the Torah, which says that go and take the gates down of the foe, towards somewhere nearer to the second understanding of the prophets, which says that everybody should live in peace. Yeah, but it takes time for this to unravel. So once upon a time, the reality was such, probably the maturity of the human psyche was such that even Isaac, he may have understood the greatness of, because he was a prophet, he has seen through and through the reality of our history, right? As a prophet, he knows the future, but he has to be with his times. His times demanded that he has to deal with the Canaanites. He has to deal with the immoral cultures around him. And there was no other way but to make war, right? But in our times, this is what I suggest, and I think even in our times, there is certainly a movement from being more violent towards being more pacifist, and understanding peace and understanding its levels and its benefits for our own growth and our own good, right? If we just have to make ourselves aware of it. But even saying that, I would like to bring to your attention a deeper truth. See, war is a result, according to science, right? We have a lot of testosterone in our system. You go to war, what are you using? You're using testosterone, right? You're using the male hormone. I mean, even the females were using male hormone. Rani Lakshmibai was fighting, or that was what was at play, right? But if you take it away, we say we scientifically decided that we can eliminate this particular hormone from our system. We don't need it. It's too violent. What happens? You are making a person impotent. He cannot be a leader. He cannot be anything. He'll just survive because he won't have any ambition in him. He won't have any competitive spirit. He won't have anything to strive for, right? It is the same chemical that creates culture, competition, makes you write poetry, makes you want to be better, makes you do things. It's the same chemistry in you that if you are unable to rein it in, you are going to take it to another extreme where there is, then what we see with that other extreme, there is rape and there is destruction and there is violence and wife beating, and if you go on the community levels, then you have riots, and if you go on the international level, there are wars. Isn't it the same thing? It is the same thing, because, and this is how Judaism understands it, and that's why you go into the Psalms, and the Psalms won't be just passive and pleasure and peace. It will also have, bring down my enemies and destroy my troublemakers, because that's, if I don't do that, there won't be any peace in the world. They are the ones who are causing the world not have peace. So that the problem is how and when I interpret it, because the leadership, the rabbis and the priests and the mullahs and the Zoroastrian priests and the Hindu also priests, right? They have been given the power now to interpret. When is it that I need to decide that I can take somebody down because he is abusing that power, right? So in my reality, if I decide, oh, this is an abuse of power, I reinterpret this reality, I will unfortunately take law in my own hands, and I will make my community move towards that decision of mine. And that is what has been our history. That is why all religions have been responsible. From Judaism to begin with, Judaism massacred the Canaanite nations. What do you think? They were pacifists? They were not. They had the decision from God in the Old Testament. They said, no, we have this God has promised us this land, and he is going to give it to us miraculously. And because we have God on our side and we want to bring monotheism into this world, we will have to destroy these immoral people. But they were people with wives and children. Can we be pacifists about it and say that this was wrong? Yeah, totally. We know it was wrong, but that is how every religion, they have to start off by, because a religion happens against something which is wrong in society, right? And it has to become violent. But at some point, the religion matures. And today, fortunately, all religions are more than probably 1,000 years old. The latest, I think, was Islam and maybe Baha'ism. All are about 1,000 years old. We have it behind us. So now it is us, the leadership, who has to decide what next. When we had to make our points, we made our points. But what next? How do we move from this one extreme to that one extreme? Because it is the same energy, you see. So to teach this, Judaism tells us about in the story of creation, right? The story of creation starts off with in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was unformed and void, right? And let us look at it. Unformed and void with darkness over the surface of the deep. The beginning of creation happens with all these negative verbs, negative things. Why is it that then from there, we have creation happening towards positivity till the 6th day, and on the 7th day we have Shabbat. Now, this idea is taken by the Jewish tradition, and they understand that initially, for creation to happen, God had to hide himself, because where there is a presence of God, full throttle, like you have just imagine in a small room, you have the sun out there. It will just destroy the room, right? The sun has to be placed some millions of light years away so that it can make some positive impact for the earth, right? If it comes even a little closer, it's going to just fry us up, right? Now, similarly, God himself, the creator of the sun and the whole cosmos and all the suns in this cosmos, the whole universe, right? He cannot create something by being present over there, because his presence is too huge, too big. So what he needs to do is he has to move away, and we call that Simsum in Kabbalah. There is one step moving away. God takes himself away and then sends his creative powers. His creative powers are what start the creation in a vacuum. But the minute this creative powers start creation, there is the light which he creates on the first day that try to come and so let's the language they use is they become the vessels. The original vessels are his creative powers, okay? And then there is some positivity. The light comes in to give some kind of value, right? Or let's call it godliness to this vessels. But that godliness is so strong, even in that vacuum, that the vessels break. There are these shards. And that is when it says that everything goes void and everything, all that is that material. The story of creation and story of humanity, according to Torah, is repairing this whole mess. It's not a mess. This is the creation story. God wanted to create something, and the procedure to create something, we are in the middle of it. He didn't create man complete. Man is a human being, right? We are a being. We are still getting there. Why are we human beings? Because we are not complete. God said, let us make man. Who is the us? One interpretation is he was speaking to man. Another interpretation is he was speaking to everything that he created before man. Let us make man. So all from earth to the animals and all the nature of different animals and everything is there in man, and together man is supposed to create himself complete. So that comes to our final understanding of, how are we doing on time? In 10 minutes. Final understanding of the word peace in Hebrew. The word for peace in Hebrew comes from the word, it's called Shalom, right? Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom. Shalom comes from Hebrew words are built on what we call roots. So there are 3 roots in the word Shalom: Shin, Lamed, and Mem. Now, Shin, Lamed, and Mem is the same root where the word Shalem or Shlemut or completion comes in. Okay. So Shalom is really not peace. Shalom is achieving perfection. When perfection is achieved, what is achieved is peace. What does that mean? It means that these shards, this same energy, that when I take in the proper channel, I am able to achieve growth and civilization and progress. If I don't channelize this energy, then it is going to lead me to violence, right? That balance needs to happen. So you have the task of balancing out in your individual selves and in the community as a whole and in international arena. That is the task. That is how Judaism understands, that you have to take it from point one. And because there are so many forces at play, what you need to achieve is a harmony between those forces. Once you achieve the harmony, it reaches its perfection, because then it can contain the light. What you just did was you turned the shard into a vessel, because the vessel broke. The broken vessel is that I won't say energy, but that is the influence that influences us through thoughts and through emotions to become violent. Okay, that influence is the creative power. It is the same power, but it has fallen a bit too further away from God. That is what Judaism understands. So we have to just bring a little light onto it so that it recognizes its originality, because it is also material from God, right? When once it starts remembering its source, it has more of the ability to repair itself, and then it can contain the light. Now, this whole Kabbalistic talk is, I mean, just for the sake of understanding the idea that Shalom, peace in Judaism, is completion, and not completion in terms of I have reached some level, because Shalom can never happen and remain over there. Shalom is a state of harmony which has to be reached every minute, every second, every moment. You have to keep on reaching that harmony. Now, understanding this background, we have to just take this information to ourselves, right? So what is the worst emotion? Let's take, for example, in me individually, right? Anger. That brings me to do stuff which may be violent, right? There may be other things. There may be jealousy, there may be envy, there may be, right? But we will focus on one and you will get the idea. Judaism has a tool how to deal with anger, because they say Judaism, being a monotheistic religion, is very much against idol worship, right? So you have to worship only one creator. And because the Jews had some kind of a relationship with them, with God, and had a divine prophetic experience, they are forbidden to use any other means like idols towards worshipping the creator. In that idea, they say if somebody got angry, he just worshipped idols. That's how bad it is. I mean, you just were not there. You went totally against 360 degrees or whatever, 180 degrees. That's how bad it is. So how do you stop from being angry? I mean, my kid was really messing up. I had to get angry. No. So Rambam, Moshe ben Maimon says, what you can do is you can act angry, but you cannot. And that's not Stanislavski's acting, where you emote the act. You have to just be a facade. From outside, you are angry. That's the max you can show, but you can never become angry. How can you never become angry? But that's what is expected from a Jew. And that's what is expected from every human being, right? We are just binding ourselves with all these laws are just what we would say, God is giving us tools how to reach to that perfection that he expects us to have, right? So why should it only be for Jews? It's for everybody. So how do I deal with anger? So we have to understand that Judaism gives us the tools to deal with it. We have anger as an emotion. Emotion, if we pay attention, happens at a second level. The first level has to be the mind, the intellect, the thought. There should be a thought that bothers me. The thought bothers me, he is insulting me. He is instigating me. He is somehow, he or she or whatever, right? There is something that is, what is the word? Inspiring that. The inspiring is not the right word, but instigating that particular flow of events. That initial phase is on a intellectual level. It is on the level of the thoughts. From thoughts to enter and descend into action, there is a little bit of time. Once it is still on thoughts, you can still control it. But once it enters into action and you get angry, then the horses are already on their way. Then it cannot happen. So how do you stop it when it is in the thought? Because most of the time when we get angry, we are not aware of the stimuli. That is the word I was thinking about. The stimuli that is responsible for it. The stimuli that is responsible for it, although I may not be aware consciously, but if I allow myself to look at it, then I can see, oh, my breathing is getting a little deeper. Oh, I am clenching my fist. I am reacting. There is a twitch in my, chin or whatever. There is something that the thought is going to cause that you have to be aware of. Oh, there is my blood is getting hotter. there is some energy that is rising in me. Once you recognize, oh, there it is, what do? You look at the other person and you turn around this energy and you say, why is he doing what he is doing? Not to find an answer. Not to find an answer, because once you decide and come up with an answer, oh, this is why he's doing it, that is why you are still going to get angry. The answer is not the point. The point is you turn the energy from your thought, which is involved with you, to involved with him. Because the core of anger is whatever he is doing is hurting your ego. That is why you are getting angry. Your self-awareness or self-esteem, whatever it may be. But that if it allows to corrode over there, then you are bound to get angry. But if you wait and allow it to descend in the level of your emotion, then it is too late. What you have to do is you have to turn it around. The minute you feel that there is a twitch, or I'm clenching my fist, or my eyes are getting a little smaller, or I am, I have this still on the level of thought. My thought has to move from my ego and focus on him. I have to ask the question, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? Why is he? It is not an answer to answer the question. Again, it is just to move the energy to him. Once you are focused on him, you cannot get angry. These are tools. This is a Hasidic tool given by the Chabad group of rabbis. How you will be able to dissipate this energy, because it's the same energy. The energy is very positive. If you have this energy and you rain this energy, you will be able to do wonders. There are so many times that you see that somebody was insulted and he said, no, I have a cousin. As a youngster, we all were, my whole family tends to be very, very puny, thin. And so his neighbors used to, tease him. So he challenged him. He said, what, you're teasing me? I will show you. And he channelized his anger and he became a bodybuilder. And he won the India title. Just because of anger. It was anger, but he didn't get angry because then he was, I don't know, 12-year-old or even younger maybe. And this fellow was 40-year-old. So how can I get angry on a 40-year-old? I have to do something about it. But if I am interested in dealing with it, then I deal with it positively. And that is the whole of Torah on one foot or in 40 minutes. All the mitzvot, everything is about taking it from your core and moving it up. You have charity, you have community. Everything is about all the mitzvot in the Torah. You will see it will move that energy to the other. You have to just keep on looking at it. You read the whole Torah, it will just give you ideas how you will be able to move it. The other will be either in the direction of your neighbor or your brother, or the other will be between you and God. The other will be God. Then he will be the one who is important, and you will be devoted to him, and all whatever this creative force that is sitting in us will have a channel to either towards him or towards the other. Once you do that, you dissipate this energy, not dissipate it. You channelize this energy, and then you're using it for the betterment. This is how Judaism understands it. So yes, there is one level where this energy can be used for destruction, and we did use it for destruction. When we won the Canaanite kings, and we did use it for destruction, but the leadership at some point realized that's it. We cannot continue doing this. We will have to channelize it in a different way. So today we do use it. See what Israel does. Israel is sitting between their enemies, but influencing them positively. Only we are waiting for the time that they realize that we have to sometimes, in defense, we have to make wars. That is a different issue. That is a necessary evil. But see the positivity, all the medical innovations, all the agricultural innovations. What is happening is this same energy, because we are instigated, we are channelizing it into all these arenas. And at some point, all our neighbors, everybody, the whole world recognizes, oh, there is something to benefit from this kind of positivity. We don't need to be at conflict with each other. And that is the only way. You live this with your wife, you live this with your neighbor, you live this with your community, and you live this with the world. This is the basis, and that is what Torah says. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm all open to answer your questions. I hope I was able to be clear enough with expressing the...
Thank you, Rabbi Joshua, for this very clear and enlightening talk of yours. Now I welcome the audience to ask for any clarifications or raise questions. It's open to everyone now. Please unmute yourselves.
Yeah. You can unmute yourself and ask questions.
I made everybody fall asleep, I guess.
No, I don't think so.
Since nobody is asking question, I'll just start the question to Rabbi. You have said...
I can't see you. Can you please...
Okay.
Yes, now I can.
You have said channelizing energy. You have concluded your session with the channelizing the energy and the personal level, how the energy that is within, which can be converted into destructive energy into creative energy. In the science also, we have this nuclear energy. It is a destructive energy. We are making nuclear bomb. A constructive energy, it become power for generation of electricity and many other areas.
Right. What is in here in the microcosm is there in the macrocosm. That is the principle.
Now, how as a community level, what is the community energy channelizing? How Torah, the holy book, is talking about, in the Old Testament, in Christianity also we have seen the communal or the group force, the powerful group force. What are the ways we can think about the group force into constructive energy? In recent days, this group force is mostly used for a destructive, whether there is a strike or something, group is become aggressive into become destruction.
Right.
Yeah. Can you suggest some means and ways where the group force can be a constructive energy?
So I will go back to the first axiom that we say that Talmidei Chachamim Marbim, Talmidei Chachamim, the students of the rabbis or the students of Torah, Marbim Shalom Ba'olam, they bring peace into the world. So it is incumbent upon the leadership to really move this. I will give you an example. When I came here as a student in 93, 94, for one weekend, I was invited to my rabbis, a very young fellow, Rabbi Tawil was his name, Rabbi Ralfi Tawil, to his, then he was staying in a place south of Jerusalem, Efrat. And he had a nice, beautiful house. And suddenly I see that there was an ambulance that came over there. I said, oh, is something wrong over here? The ambulance was there for 10 minutes and then it left. And then again in the evening, the ambulance came, 10 minutes and then it left. So I was there over two days, right? So the next day again, the ambulance comes in the morning, left. So I said, is there somebody who is sick in your neighborhood? Somebody, I mean, in your building? He was in a bungalow. So there were like this group of bungalows next to each other. So he says, no, everything is fine. Why do you think that somebody is sick? No, I said, there was this ambulance. He said, no, the ambulance is here because they come to collect milk from my wife. What do you mean milk? Oh, my wife has a newly born baby, right? And she is a feeding mother. But fortunately, she has been blessed with much more milk than her baby requires. So what I did was we initiated the whole thing with our community over here, that whoever there are mothers who cannot lactate and there are mothers who have more milk. So what do? So we got in touch with the neighborhood hospital and we said that we want your ambulance to collect milk where it is excess and to go and put it in the refrigerators, and those other mothers will be able to benefit from it. So there is this whole thing in Efrat, not one person, but it was the community leader, right, who had this idea. He said, oh, let me look at this. There is an excess over here and there is something, a want in some other place. How can I look at this? Now just imagine the whole community, how close it gets, because it is, that father who knows that my child needs milk and some other woman who I don't even know, but they have an idea, who are the new mothers, right, is supplying milk to my child, right? How he will feel about the whole community, what kind of affinity will be felt, and what kind of cohesiveness will be created just because of this one idea, right? So ideas are there for us to be creative and think about them. We think about charity. This is another kind of charity, but it is taking it to a limit, right? That is what is community. Community is about how I can really care about the other person, how I can be sensitive to that other person's requirement. When I understand that I have an excess which I am not going to use, how can I use it for the betterment of others, right? And if I have the technology available, and if I have the, this is not new. From older times, I was reading a book on Akbar. He had 4 or 5 mothers who were feeding him, right? Why he had so many mothers? Because his mother was away, and he had women who were feeding him breast milk, right? So if it could be done for a king, it can be done for everybody, right? This is just an example, but community is again influenced by very strong leaders. One idea is anybody who has the ability, where there is no man, you have to be a man. So when you see there is a community and you see that there is a need for you to guide it, you have to become the leader. So you don't wait for who is the president of that organization, he has to take the lead. No. Anybody, And everybody, whoever thinks about an idea that he can make it happen, he is the leader. He takes up the whole gang, the whole community with him and moves. That is the only way we can change the world.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Let's see. One question would be, Rabbi, see the understanding of community. See, often our understanding of community can be, so have a certain restriction, in terms of someone belonging to my religion or my neighborhood or my caste, like in India, or my class, social class. The problem is, can our community boundaries be extended to include more and more people, ultimately all mankind? You see?
Okay.
That is the challenge.
The way I see it is, there is bound to be some kind of affinity between people. If we even take away the caste and creed and whatever that decides the boundary lines today, right? Because we are social people, we are not going to attach ourselves to everybody and anybody. We are going to create those boundaries by ourselves, because I'm going to just take in people who are like-minded. I'm taking people who are of my same wealth class. I will take in people who are, because wherever I am holding, I am bound to create an artificial, maybe it may not be fixed according to some scriptures or whatever, it is bound to happen. So that becomes my entity. And the whole idea is that I have to think beyond. So when I am thinking community, as an individual, I have to think beyond my family, right? So if I have to give charity, how can I give the weakest among a community? In terms of however it was created because of religious norms, or it was created by a dynamic, because that's how human beings create friends and families and communities, right? Once you know that this is my group, the principle is that I have to go beyond to connect with another group. My group and the other group has to. So when as an individual, I share my bounty, whatever is possible for me in charity, with somebody else. Similarly, as a community, I have to share with somebody else. The fact that we are doing what we are doing just now, we are sharing ideas, we are sharing information, we are sharing the principles on which Judaism was able to live for the 2000 years in its diaspora, right? These are the principles. That's why we were not defeated, right? A negative time where everybody was lording up on us, but how did we survive? This is the wisdom. Now you gave me an opportunity to bring it to so many other communities who maybe are under similar situations, who may be able to get some ideas from this and work on. So this is exactly what we are doing. We are reaching out beyond, not necessarily only with money. It could be wisdom, it could be ideas, it could be experiences, but it has to happen proactively. And that is where you have to have your underline. Whenever you find that this is my group, I have to find somebody beyond the group that I can proactively reach out to. However I reach out to them, that is necessary. Once I have that mindset, then we will be able to certainly make the bridges between communities. Because after all, we have so much more in common than we don't have the same challenges as a husband or a wife or a child. However rich you are, or however poor you are, or however white you are, or however black you are, those challenges, once we, what are the parallels that we have? What are the same platforms that we share. Once we have opened ourselves to them, that's it. Then we are building bridges. That is the principle.
There's one more hand raised. Professor Akshaya, please ask your question.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. Very good evening, and I'm really thankful to you for such a wonderful explanation. It is really very thought-provoking. So my question is, sir, I have been doing a lot of teaching and training with NGOs, with corporate organizations, and work for many years in college. One point that people get angry, and in the moment of anger, they do something wrong, crime, etc., and then for the whole life they have to pay for it. In the moment of anger, they kill. Anything can happen, or
Yes.
they commit suicide, etc. So you give one very good
Unfortunately.
example that somebody was insulted, so he became a bodybuilder, he became Mr. India, etc. He proved his skills, he channelized his anger. That was really wonderful. But not all have the capacity. And in the moment of anger, in the moment of sadness, somebody has insulted someone. So they cannot, the shock is so strong that they cannot accept it, and it requires a lot of time. And they indulge in something horrible. So where the crime or the police or the doctor has to intervene. So my question to you is, all religions are same. The words are different. Let it be Christianity or Muslim or Hinduism or Judaism. I think so. So Bible, little bit of Jainism, a little bit of Christianity, because I'm deeply interested in spirituality. So how can we help the other people if they get angry? When something goes angry, the community becomes furious and they all burn the houses in a moment of anger. Or if one individual gets angry or sad due to some shock, he kills himself or he kills the other. So what tool can we give him or her to control his anger that moment? Any religious tools are available? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would like to just correct you when you say that some people don't have the capacity. That is not right. Everybody is created just like me. If I have the capacity to do it, then the other person also has the capacity. If we say they don't have the capacity, then we will not be able to help them also, because they will say that then this is useless, this cannot help me, right? So capacity, there may be somebody who it comes easier to them, sometimes it is difficult for them, right? But I want to ask, I shared one idea about how to channelize for anger. You can use that idea, right? But I thought that you are asking that those people have already at the spur of the moment taken a certain course of action and now they are being punished. Maybe it is remorse, or maybe it is psychological, or maybe it is also through the police or some way or the other. So I'm wanting to get clear. Where are you holding now? You are holding with criminals, you're helping criminals who have already done something wrong, or are you holding with people who have a tendency to do wrong and you want to work with them?
Okay, thank you. To answer your question, many times people come to me for guidance, counseling, or there is a conflict. I have a peace and harmony club. So they are so angry due to somebody has hurt them, somebody has cheated them. They are normal people like all of us. They are not criminals. But
Okay.
that moment of anger or sadness, they cannot control it. You are absolutely right, Father, that everybody has the capacity, but everybody doesn't have the capacity to be quiet and be calm that moment.
Correct.
So what tools can we give him or
So
her?
everybody doesn't have the tools, we will say. We will say on one hand they have the capacity, but they don't have the tools because they have not been trained, right?
Correct.
So now, first of all, from your point of view, you are as somebody who is responding to a person in pain or a person who needs help, right? We have to let me get here. When we spoke about in Pirkei Avot, we spoke about truth and peace, right? So that's when I hinted at this idea that says there is somebody who is a judge. When he is a judge, he gets all these pieces of information and he has to do truth. Justice is truth, true justice. He cannot take sides, he cannot take, right? He has to be true to his. But when he realizes that, okay, this fellow was a drunken driver and he drove and he killed another person. So he has to be imprisoned for 18 years, life imprisonment, right? But then the same judge sits over there and he thinks, this doesn't happen in our justice system, by the way. I don't think so. But the same justice system thinks and says, okay, he was a newly married fellow and he was drunk because of the friends or whatever. He got influenced and he's not a drunkard, but he got, in fact, those who are drunkards, they don't really get so tipsy after driving because they are trained in drinking and driving, you see. Those who are not the drunkards, sometimes they drink, they are the ones who are much more destructive because they cannot handle their minds, right? So now this person was not, he was really not a drunkard. He drank at that particular, and the time was bad and he had to get back home and nobody else to drive him and he killed somebody. But he has a newlywed wife and and she is pregnant maybe. And now who is going to support her? Who is going to, when it is brought into perspective, what we call is compassion. This is what is compassion. When something is supposed to happen, but we go beyond the letter of the law and say, no, there is some other level where I have to. So that's why that, according to Zachariah, is peace. Then you make peace. So when that judge sits over there and takes that also into consideration, that by destroying his life, I'm going to destroy his parents' life and his wife's life and all those who are dependent on him. And they have not driven and killed this other person, right? They are not the drunken drivers. Why should they get punished? So when I put this into perspective, there will be a different outcome. Every time, that is exactly when you are reacting with somebody who is self, has to have compassion on himself. That is another level. When I am getting angry, right? If I realize that the kind of poison I put into my system, that I'm shortening my life by 30 years, that I am prone to heart attacks, that I am going to just destroy my relationship with people. I'm going to destroy the bridges that tomorrow I will not be able to work with these people. When I put that into perspective, I also realize that this is detrimental to me. As a social worker, it is your task to just flip the coin for him and show him, hold on, you have to have compassion on yourself. Yes, anger is important, but see what it is going to cause. Once, as we said, anger itself happens on an emotional plane. On the emotional plane, you cannot rein in the horses, right? You cannot. But when he is coming to you for help, it is still on the intellectual plane, because he's asking, angry with this person and I'm going to bash him up. And that's why he has already met you. So he is in a very good time, because now you have to just turn it from his pain into something more. You have to give him tools where he will be able to realize what are his priorities. His priority is to take revenge, or his priority is to show the other person that I am also having some self-esteem and respect. So how does he do that? If he can just move that around, that has to happen through compassion. Once you connect with that person and you understand what his likings are, what his dislikes are, how that person's character is shaped, you will be able to enter into this, because this zone is very good. This zone is still on the intellectual level. It has not descended on the emotional level. So he can rein in his energies, right? But that compassion which we can think about a judge giving to the other is what your task is, to bring him to give it to himself. He has to be compassionate with himself.
Thank you for that explanation. Any other questions? I'd like to raise just one question on this whole question of violence. You see, we know war is destructive, but at the same time, we seem to say that, sometimes necessity causes you to react with violence. But
yes,
how helpful is that kind of an approach? You see, well, on the one hand, we say, if you want peace, be prepared for war. But your preparation for war leads to war often, because that's the expectation which leads to a fulfillment. That is
yes.
Well, say in India, we have this whole thing of opposing violence with non-violence.
True.
Is there any idea like that in the Old Testament, for example?
I know there is an idea in the Old Testament, just not coming to me. It is in the book of Kings, where
David's.
You can even see David's. There was Shimi ben Gera,
Saul's husband
who
abusing.
was cursing David, and as a king, once he comes to power, he had the ability to destroy him and kill him, but he doesn't. Right?
Yes, yes.
Now I will give you the Jewish understanding of what happens, the dynamic of that particular incident. Shimi ben Gera was a descendant from the family of Saul, the King Saul's family. So King Saul, from his perspective, King David had usurped his kingdom. Although it was done because of a divine edict by Samuel being the priest, and he said that God now decided to take the monarchy and give it to the house of Jesse and give it to David. But from his perspective, we are talking about compassion. So we are going to have compassion on Shimi ben Gera and ask him, what is he feeling? So he felt that this guy is not good. This guy sucked, and now he's out of power, because for a small period, Shalom took his kingdom, and that's when he cursed him. He said, see, you got it back. He thought that he is getting justice. Once that is in his head, King David understands that, okay, because I came out of power, he thought that it was not God who brought me to monarchy, and that's why he has a reason why he can curse me. But later on, in Judaism, the book of Esther, right? In the book of Esther, you see there are two players. One player is Mordechai. And you take the lineage of Mordechai, ben Shimi, you see, I have a Tanakh over here, Old Testament, book of Esther, if I can quickly pick it up. In the fortress Shushan lived a Jew by the name of Mordechai, son of Yair, son of Shimi, son of Kish, a Binyaminite. So his ancestry was Shimi ben Kish, a Binyaminite. Right? What does it want to say? According to our tradition, it says that he was Shimi who cursed David. Right? He was his descendant. David did not kill him. Because David did not kill him, he was able to father. Otherwise, David would have finished the whole lineage. Maybe he had not yet fathered a son till at that point. And that's why, to save the Jews in the time of Esther, Mordechai was available. Mordechai's family was available because of compassion that David had on Shimi. On the other hand, you have the other side of the coin also in the same story. You have Shimi's family, which is Saul, King Saul. King Saul was asked to go, and was a very destructive king who was supposed to be annihilated, finished by Saul. The first king, monarch who comes to Israel has to finish this kingdom. That was the task given to the first king, right? Now we are talking about peace and everything, but there is a side of peace which is violence also. That's the question you asked. So when King Saul goes and annihilates the Amalekite kings, right? He puts the king of Amalek, Agag, his name is Agag, right? Behind bars. He annihilates everybody else, finishes the whole town, but he keeps the king alive. Now the Jewish tradition says if you keep a king even behind bars, you have to give him a concubine. He's a king. You have to have the prophet Samuel came to him the next day. He was with a woman that night. And then the woman went away. And then next morning, when Samuel comes, Samuel kills. He says, why did you keep this guy alive? He himself kills him, right? But that woman continues the lineage of Agag, and that's why you have Haman Ha-Agagi. Haman is the Amalekite progeny of Amalek, the Agagi. Why? Because of mercy, where you don't have to show mercy. If you show mercy, it comes back to you. But where you have to show compassion, if you show compassion, then it comes back to you too. That is the message in those two stories. So yes, you are right. There are times when you have to. There is a time for war, and there is a time for destructive enemy that needs to be defended. You need to defend yourself. Certainly, there is.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Anyone else wants to ask a quick question, or we'll wind up because we've already passed the time, and I'm sure Rabbi has many other commitments.
No, I'm open for a few questions. Whatever, I'm not hurried.
Can we have your email ID?
I will share it with you all. Yes, I will send it to Father
De Cruz.
Yes, I'll send it to Father De Cruz and he can share it.
Okay. So we can invite whoever is interested to contact me and I will give it to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We've come to the end of our program for this evening. I want to once again thank Rabbi Joshua for this enlightening session we had, all the way from Israel, and yet making time for us. Thank you very, very much. I also want to thank the audience.
It was an honor.
All those who participated. We still have one more program which has to be fixed. I will announce it later, in which we will hear the Buddhist perspective on the same topic. I also want to thank the management of both institutions, and of course, Gilby sir, for his regular support in this whole program. So thank you and wish you all the best. Good night. God bless. Thank you.
Good night. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.